Welcome to the first episode of the BTS Business Podcast. Today, we have a business owner who has been owning a business since he was 20 years old. And, geez, how old are you now? 32. He is now 32 years old, and he owns Liberty Barbershop in Point Loma and The Parlor, co-owning with his brother in Poway. We have Frankiedabarbar. What's up, man? So tell me your story about, owning a barbershop. How did you, why a barbershop?
Honestly, that's a good, honest question. I never wanted to be a barber. I used to look at it and think, hey, this is so boring, like white walls, because my mom cut hair for a little bit. So sometimes I'd have to go over there and, after school and sit there, and I was so bored out of my mind. There was like nothing to do. It just wasn't cool. And when I turned 18, I had a girlfriend, and I think she needed me to do something, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was like, I'll just go to barber college because my family cuts hair, I went to barber college. I hated that even more. It was the worst decision I ever made. But I stuck it through and didn't learn much there. So I graduated and went to work. I worked at my cousin's shop, and there was things I learned about him, and there was things I was like, man, I really don't like that about you, work-wise. And I was like, man, if I ever own my own shop, I'm just not going to do that, And I worked for somebody else, and it was the same thing. Where I was like, why do you do that? You don't need to do that. And then I ended up at my last shop, and that was in Pacific Beach. And I loved those guys, and some of those guys I'm still friends with till today. But the shop was exactly where the industry was heading. But to me, it was just lacking creativity for me. But I knew at that point, it was like, I think I could do this if I ever became an owner, and I won't do that because I just don't like how I feel after I was told that or this, So I think I was probably 20 years old by that time, and I got an offer to buy North County and Escondido Barbershop. And I thought all my friends live up there, and I have history up there. That's gonna be great. And I decided if I bought a shop, I was gonna turn it into my concept, my thought, like a garage in a way, but you make money out of it. And it was gonna be my space. And I think that's where I realized I was doing this better than all the shops I'd seen growing up, thought process, giving people what they want, not just there as to collect money, And for me, it's I just wanted to create something else, and it slowly but surely has just taken off, So that's why I ended up staying in the industry, because I ended up understanding it and how to make really good money.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you've been in the industry for about 12 years now. What advice would you give your old 20-year self? Young 20-year-old Frankie.
Question, man.
You are 32 years old now.
Okay, so at 20 years old, politely, I feel like I'd have a lot of money right now. And I know money's not the answer, but to think when you're 20, it's just live your life, and I'm 32 now, thinking man, how am I going to save money now, But if I was 20 years old, which I told 20-year-olds now, every paycheck you get, put something away. We don't really have saving plans in barber worlds or barber paychecks, whatever, nobody teaches this, but people need to put $100 away every paycheck, If you think your paycheck's too small, well, you should work a little bit harder to make that $100 extra, because if you do the math, 4 paychecks a month, so let's say $400, 400 times 12. Now I've been in the industry for 12 years, so, now times that by 12. You know what I mean? It's just it's that easy. But barbers don't think. They make fast money, so they spend it, So it's they think oh, I just made $1,000 paycheck. I'll make it again next week, so I'm just going to blow it, and it's everywhere. And I'd tell the 20-year-old me, don't do that. Don't do that. Because I did it. I did it for too long.
Definitely.
For too long. So by the time I was like 26, I really had like nothing. Not that I didn't have anything, but it's just like, I just wasn't running things right. So that's what I would tell a 20-year-old.
Was that 26 when you started taking it
when
more
I was
seriously?
just like, I'd kind of been like, I'd buy barber chairs every now and then and put them in storage, but 26 was when I was just like, I need to grow up. I know 26 is kind of like, people think like it's young, but it's just like, dude, things creep up on you really fast.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, start now. Can you imagine a 20-year-old doing that? Just save $100 every paycheck. You don't need it. Like, you don't need that $100. Pretend you never get it. So if you see a paycheck that's like $800, pretend it was $700. You know, I promise you, you'll thank me later.
So for those aspiring barbershop owners, what advice would you give to them?
This is simple, actually. Being an owner is fun and obviously rewarding, but you got to have it in you to work 7 days. And I get it. It's like, I'm not going to be there 7 days. That's fine. But you got to work 7 days, right? You work 5 days. Who's going to resupply the shop? Are you going to do that during a work day? You know, it's just like, you got to be prepared. But I will tell them, do not treat your workers like employees. Figure out the difference. Because, okay, so plain and simple, an owner can be like, hey, Frankie, can you do me a favor, dude, and take out the trash? And you'd be like, yeah, man. Or an owner can be like, I need you to go take out the trash. Do you see the difference?
Yeah.
Like, which one are you they're the same thing, but which one are you most likely to be like, yeah, it's just like, damn, what a jerk. Like, why don't you be nicer? It's the way you talk to people. And I can tell you, everybody
Especially
that's
nowadays,
ended up at my shop, like, and has called it home, because I don't have a big turnaround. Some of the people have been with me for 8, 5, 4 years, going on 3 years, like, these people stay. And it's because of the way I talk to them and the way I treat them. Some people might say I'm the biggest jerk, but that's just the way our relationship kind of had ended, and it's not me being a jerk. It's just like, I'm just giving you back what you're giving me,
Okay.
So,
Would you say that's the biggest challenge?
yeah, the way you treat your people, and people think like, well, I'm an owner.
Can you talk a little bit more about that, the whole W-2 versus contractor thing? Because I feel like not a lot of people who are getting into business kind of understand that concept.
Yeah, I'm going to try to make this one short, because I feel like people need to investigate on their own, because there are hairstylists or barbers that go out there and they're so scared of the commission life, right? So they go and work at Sport Clips for that W-2 because it's for their taxes. So somebody at Sport Clips, and I hope people that are in that industry are watching this, those barbers, not saying they're not the best, but like, I think real barbershops, whatever that means, knows where Sport Clips barbers rank. They probably make like $600 every 2 weeks, maybe 7 if they're lucky. And their percentage that the owners pay, I think, is like maybe under 3 or right at 3%. Like, if they get paid part commission, right? Mm-hmm. One of my main barbers that can throw down like 35 haircuts in a day used to work at Sport Clips, and she's really good. And she hit commission one time, and it was like $2.30, right? Yeah. So again, they make W-2 people want to be employees, whatever, safe check. They make roughly, let's say, $600 to $800 every 2 weeks. Now, my commission barbers, if they're listening to whoever's trying to teach them, can make $800 every week. That's a big difference, So contractors is the way to go. Or when you want to work somewhere. California tried to change that law, and it would have been detrimental to everybody. And they wanted barbers, and this is legitimate, I'm not making any of this up. They wanted to make sure that owners of like the mom and pop barbershops are paying their barbers $21 an hour plus a commission, right? So how does that work for a $9 barbershop? It's just like, they can't. Do we all have to go up? Do we all have to come up with a California rule where it's just like, haircuts are now $30 or $40 everywhere, and it's because of like, I guess inflation or whatever. It's just like, I got to pay them or I got to fire them. Okay, so some people in the industry thought like, yeah, I want to be treated as an employee. It's just like, all right, now as a barber, like, it's like, man, I got rent. Boss, can I work all week? But yeah, that's fine. I'll take like 2 days off. That's how the industry kind of is. And now it's just like, if they have rent and they're on W-2, or if the law were to change over where we had to put them hourly, I'd be like, I can only give you 35 hours, and then the other 5 would be maybe for pushing it, you know what I mean? But I can't give you benefits. It's not that I don't want to give you benefits. It's just like, I can't go broke maintaining 16 people, you know? I still got to take care of myself and my family. So, yeah, to answer your question, you know, I'm going to grab my phone real fast just to put the website, not the website, but the contractor thing that was going on, if you Google AB5 worker status, and that talks about employee and independent contractor, like where it stands and what is exempt from the new law.
And that wasn't just for barbershops, right? That was for
a lot of industries that you have to have a license for, like insurance broker, a salesperson. If you're in that industry, any industry that requires like a state license, you should check this out to see if you are being scammed by your employer. You just need to be educated. You can't take what somebody says to you and says like, oh, this is the new law, and say, oh, is it really? Like, just do homework, Google it, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But yeah, people should look that up if they're worried about what's going to happen in the industry for themselves financially, you know? So, yeah.
Nice. I kind of want to shift gears a little bit. I want to talk about marketing. So you own 2 shops in two demographically different locations.
Yeah.
What are some challenges you've had with marketing? What are some successes you've had with marketing? What is marketing like for a barbershop?
You're asking good questions. Better than last time. Okay, I've done it all. I've done banners. I've done flyers. I've done promotions.
Yelp?
Yelp is an extortion company. But I've done it all, right? And I'll tell you how much you need to spend on marketing to be successful. Zero. And I mean that, right? If you have a product,
cut that out.
If you have a product and it sells itself in a way, why am I going to pay somebody to market me, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, and if you want to, like, in a sense, like a human or whatever, if you want to grow properly, don't just take everything in at once, right? Just kind of grow at a steady pace. And with zero advertising or like fees, where it's just like, oh, I pay for this website, or I pay for this, you know, it's just like, we don't do it, you know? And I think we've grown at a really good rate with 7 barbers, and I've never really had to pay for advertising. Well, I've done it before in the past, and I can tell you I spent $500 on flyers, coupons, like, oh, if you bring me this flyer, you know, haircut's free.
Yeah.
$500.
I'd say it's industry-based.
Guess how many people walk through that door? 1.
Really?
1.
Wow.
And then you know what's funny is apparently he got a batch of them, so he tried to keep coming in with like 1 or 2, and I told him, I was like, hey man, it was like a, you know, first time customer thing, you know?
Yeah.
And so at that point I was like, man, I'll never do that again. And the last advertising we had really done was when we opened Point Loma, we did free haircuts on Saturday and Sunday for like a grand opening, right? Mm-hmm. I think we did probably like 150 haircuts in 2 days.
Talking about like free fades or buzz cuts?
Yeah, no,
or?
free everything,
Wow.
everything. We had free food, free everything. Kind of put our name out there. 150 people, you know, free haircuts. I think we if they wanted to do like a tip donation to the front, we had a jar there, you know, and that was just going to be replenished to the day, like pay some of the people that helped us out, you know.
And do you see a lot of those people that you cut hair that day?
No.
That's the thing with those with people. Yeah. I don't want to say those type of people, but people who do Groupon or people who coupon they're just looking for the deal.
Yeah.
They're not there to be the long-term customer.
So it's like, so to me, it's me giving a good haircut, me having a good conversation with the one person in my chair. Nobody else is around. It's like us talking, connect with him, remember something about him, and as he's leaving, whatever he came in for, it'd be like, oh, I'm going to my kid's birthday, or I have a job interview. At the end of that haircut, always shake his hand and say something like, have fun at your kid's birthday party, or good luck on that interview, or I hope things work out with your girlfriend, whatever the conversation is. Always leave it with like, I'm still thinking about it walking you out the door. I'm telling you, they will smile and appreciate it, and that's where it's like, I'm going back to this guy.
Yeah, keeps it human.
Yeah. So those barbers that don't talk, that's fine. It works for them, but like I feel if you talked just a little bit more and showed that you a little bit more interest, like, man, your business could boom, you know?
Yeah,
So,
I can relate to that
yeah.
because some of the barbers that I've had to this day, it's not because they give me the best haircut. It's just because I have a positive experience through good conversations with them. Nice.
Yeah, I know. You've denied me for the quieter barbers.
Well, I mean, come on, man.
It's okay, man.
Funny.
We go to the same barber. Travis Fink.
A shout out.
There you go.
Let's talk about the industry of the barber industry. Like, where is the barber industry going?
This is simple. It's not for the faint of heart, and only the strong will survive. That's it.
What do you mean by that? Can you elaborate?
You got lifers. Like, I got a guy that's at my barbershop in Escondido, and he's 87. His name is Peter Franco, and he's been in the industry since he was probably 45, 47. So it's like you're talking about a guy that's, you know, got well over 40 years in the industry, over 50, I believe. He's been in it forever. He's a great story.
Get that man a 401k.
He's a lifer, right? But anybody that he worked with is not a barber anymore. And some of them are still alive. Like, he's been in the industry forever, and he knows them all. He's the last one standing, right? So he's a lifer. He had it in him because he knows how good the money is and how he can treat the money.
How old is he when you took over the shop?
75.
How did that go?
He hated me. That's a story for another time.
How did you gain his trust?
He hated me. That's a sad story.
Okay, we'll talk about
But no,
that.
I'll say it real fast. He hated me, and he was testing me. He put everything, like, he'd even tell me when we were slow, why are you a barber? What makes you just want to sit around here all day? So my response as a 20, I think at the time after that I was 21, I was like, well, why are you a barber? You know? And my mom one time, I told her, I was like, I can't believe, like, I'm like suckered into this deal with having to work with him. And she said, I'll tell you what, she's like, if you can deal with him, you can deal with anybody. And that's what ended up happening, you know? But his son passed away, very, very fast and abrupt. And he obviously wasn't going to go back to work. So I went back to work his shifts, and he would show up. I'm not lying about this. He would show up at 4 a.m. and cut all the way through 6 p.m. Yeah. And me, I show up like at 9, barely awake, wanting to leave by 5, you know? But anyways, I told all his customers, like, hey, his son passed away. I'm just going to be doing this for like the next week or two to make sure I'm letting his clients know. And I think word got back to his clients of what I did, and he appreciated it so much. When he came back, it's like he never hated me. And
Nice.
and as I started hiring people, I was so scared of him, like thinking like, oh, there's more young guys, you know? And he embraced them. I changed him and he changed me, and he embraced them. And I remember I'd always tell them, like, you guys are so lucky because you have no idea what I had to put up with. And he wouldn't admit it for a long time. And one time I wasn't there, and he admitted it to everybody.
Really?
So I was happy about that because it's like, I've been telling you guys, you know.
Nice.
But he taught me some good lessons that just like, if I survived him, you, excuse my language, but you ain't got shit to show me. You know? Yeah.
If you were to invent something in the barber industry, like now, obviously there are apps out there for, you know, there's Uber, there's Lyft, there's things that have changed the industry within taxis, there's Airbnb for real estate. What do you think it would be for barber,
Okay.
the barber industry?
So there's an app called No Wait, and it's for restaurants. In some of the, I've only done it here in San Diego, obviously, but it's like, you know, Snooze, Claim Jumpers, a Mexican restaurant in Old Town, and you could be at home being like, hey, let's go there, and you open your phone and be like, ooh, there's a 60-minute wait. So you can put your name on at home. And then it'll start telling you, down to 24 parties, down to 13 parties, 6 parties, start heading over, which saves you time. So with the barber industry, I wish there was a better app, not like Booksy or like, hey, book your appointment through this app, you know, but an app where it's just like, oh, what's Liberty's wait time? Oh, 10 minutes? I'm going to put my name down on the list. I'm on my way, you know. Obviously, if you cannot make that time frame where it says be here by this time, it's automatically, you know, gone. But like that would be a good app for barbershops, is like, because people call up, what's your wait time, you know? But if they can just get on the app and be like, oh, 10 minutes, it sucks. It really sucks, because it's a waste of our time to answer the phone and be like, yeah, 10-minute wait, you know? And then another one comes up, yeah, 15-minute wait, you know? And like you're trying to cut hair. and it's just like we kind of play roulette with the phone, you know, because we're all cutting hair. And I can't afford a secretary or, you know, a receptionist. It's like, it's not worth it. Like, you just got to bite the bullet. But an app like that would help that. And another thing too with wait times, it's I have like the perceived wait time, right? You go somewhere and there's nothing to do. There's People magazine, who cares? But like for us, it's like we have TVs scientifically spread out at our barbershop, you know, wherever you turn, there's one. And we do have video game consoles, and we have a lot of talking points at our shop with pictures, art, whatever. And that changes somebody's like perceived wait time. Because like in our shop, if you're not impatient, it could feel like a 15-minute wait, and it was really a 40-minute wait, you know. But we kind of give you something where you're enjoying your time here, and we have couches you sit on and not hard chairs.
You guys are always playing movies, man.
Yeah, right. We have a crowd that always comes in and they're like, "What are we watching today?" You know? Yeah. So, but yeah.
That's funny. I like that perceived wait time metric.
Yes. A lot of barbershops don't have that. I've seen some new barbershops where it's just wait, you know, and just, I don't know. It's for them, not for me.
I see.
Yeah.
As far as like process improvement within the barber shop industry, you know, what are some processes, I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking this, that you see that there's just waste in this process? Like we're doing a lot of rework, or there's variability in the outcome of our you know, product that we're giving out there?
I don't know. I think if I might answer this question wrong, but I think that comes down to owners. Like if you're an owner of a barbershop, and I won't throw anybody's name out there, but I've seen the way.
But Johnny, your shop sucks. No, I'm kidding.
But I don't know Johnny. But the owners need to change their process. I've met people that quit barbering and they didn't end up at my shop. I was almost looking at them and be like, dude, I hope you come knocking one day, you know? And then I find out that be like, nah, they had a bad experience at this barbershop, and I'll just say OB, you know, and they just ended up going back to work, you know? And it's like, that sucks, you know, because it's like they ended up at 3 wrong barbershops because of ownership, and they just decided like, this is what it's like, you know? And they quit the industry. So it's like owners need to stop acting like they employed these people, you know, they're contractors. And if any contractor is watching, and I hope they are, you're a contractor. And I hate to say this because I have a crew myself. If you say, I'm done for the day, you have every right to just leave for the day. It's the law. If your boss says, I'm going to fire you if you leave, and you stay, it helps you, because in a sense, you have now become an employee because he's treating you like one. And that's a big difference, right? And there's other people that are scared to leave or scared to ask for time off because their boss says, I'm just going to look for somebody else if you leave again, you know? Understand your rights as a contractor. And owners, they're dicks, you know? I'm not, I hope not, you know, but like, I have the crew to show for it. But I think that's the problem, and that's the process that needs to change, how owners treat their contractors.
Earlier, you were talking about Yelp.
Yeah.
You called them an extortionist company. Can you just elaborate a little bit more on that for me?
Dude, Yelp is an extortion company. I think whoever runs Yelp, not going to tell you which way they lean politically, but they got bullied when they were kids. And now they're on the bullying side, and now they get paid for it. So it's like, it's a brilliant business, right? But they have, let's say me, right? I dumped $30,000 into a business. I'm trying to be the best I can be. But yet you have this guy who just didn't fit in this location, and it's just having a shitstorm on the internet, just being like, oh, they were so rude, they were so that. It's like, well, why do I have 100 reviews saying that we're not rude, but this guy just had a rude, you know, and then he's being rude through there, disrespecting some of the workers, talking about their ethnicity, and things that I think violate Yelp's rules. So then you hit Yelp and you flag it, and then they come back to you a day later and they say, we deemed what he said was not inappropriate. It's like, dude, he was making fun of somebody the way they look. Like, how is that not, whatever. So anyways, then a week later you get a phone call, and it's a Yelp seller person, and they're like, hey, how about you want more control of your negative reviews? We have a package right now for $2.99 a month. And I said, oh, $2.99? She's like, no, $299 a month. And I was like, for what? I was like, and she's like, oh, so you can have more control. But they don't say it like, oh, so you can have control of your page. But the way they're telling it to you is kind of like, well, this way you'll have more positive reviews in the front that customers can more relate to than the negative reviews. So to me, so you're going to move my negative reviews, And long story short, I did the math to her on the phone. I said, I was like, you're not having any of my income now. So if I were to pay you, I'd have to make $300 more. And I don't just want to pay you, so I'd have to kind of double that. So I have to make $600 more a month just to pay you. Well, sir, you're looking at it the wrong way. No, I'm not. You're not going to take my income I've already grossed, Like, if you're going to come here, you better help me get customers, and I'll break you off, right? And then I was like, and $300, I was like, it just doesn't even make sense. And anyways, we hung up the phone, and I go back to my page. All my negative reviews are on the front page. And I was like, this wasn't like this, when I was talking to her and I was going through it. And she calls back a week later. And then she's like, hey, we have another offer for you because we realize, you're a barbershop and almost like we make less money or something. So we have a package that's like $189.99. I'm like, oh, $100 less. I was like, and I told her, I was like, you guys are extortion companies. So you're coming to me for money like the mob. And in order to change this, I was like, the mob used to go to people and say, it's like, don't worry, you pay us this money, we'll take care of you, And it's just like, it's the same thing. And then I think she kind of chuckled, and she said, I just wasn't understanding. And I'm like, you know what, I'll make do, And from there, we learned how Yelp works and how they may put like somebody viewing your channel, where it's just like, if I said, hey, the three of you just comment on my page and give me a good Yelp review. If it's your first time on Yelp, it throws it onto the back page. Like at the bottom of your page, it always has like a grayed out thing that says currently non-recommended reviews.
Really?
So yeah, that's how I feel about them. I'm not a fan.
And it sucks because you could have all these good reviews. Yeah. Like if this never happened, you could have all these good reviews, and then that one bad review. Like everybody just listens to that one bad review.
Yeah, I feel to end this conversation, I feel like Yelp should have, like, let's say there's 6 people inside my shop, right? And somebody noticed, like, man, that guy's not having a good time. And they're noticing, like, man, he's just being a jerk. There should be like a rebuttal thing on there where it's like somebody writes a negative review and a person who was in there says, nah, man, I was in there at the same time. You were a real big jerk, And that way somebody could be like, oh, well, there was another customer in there while he was in there, rather than just being like one side of the story. You know what I mean? So
that makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you. But I think people are leaning off of Yelp reviews, right? I think they're more just looking for the pictures of the food now and checking out places.
Definitely.
That's what I do. I don't
Instagram's
even care
the new
for
Yelp,
reviews.
in my opinion.
One thing I do though, which I think if everybody should use Yelp this way, if you had a bad experience somewhere, go read their Yelp reviews and see if the negative reviews are your feelings, like how you felt when you went in there. That's the only time I've ever gone to Yelp and see their reviews, because I was like, did you hear her? Like, why did she say that to me, I've been to a restaurant one time and the lady said, I go to the restaurant a lot and I'm not picky. I just ask for, instead of feta cheese, I ask for cheddar cheese, And she looked at me and she's like,
really? You asked for cheddar, bro?
Yeah.
No.
She was like, oh, you're that guy. And I look over to my lady and I'm like, She just said that to me. That was weird. But anyways, yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's how I feel about Yelp.
Jeez, damn Yelp.
Yeah.
So you were giving your self-advice earlier. Earlier you were talking about giving your self-advice to your 20-year-old self. Mm-hmm. And what advice would you give people who want to own a shop, like buying a shop that's already been there versus starting a new shop?
Okay. I'm going to sum this one up pretty fast. Don't ever buy anybody's shop. It's got to be a special reason you decide to buy somebody's shop. Like, don't ever buy it. It's not worth it. It's not worth the price. Because somebody's going to ask like $35,000, $45,000 for their shop. And business is business. Open up across the street if you know they're going out for 20 grand. 20 grand or 45 grand. You be smart. Now, if you're going to open a business and that is your goal to open a shop one day, don't wait last minute. Buy chairs whenever you can. Pay for a storage unit. $125 for a storage unit monthly. I used to do that. Buy chairs, buy furniture, buy antique stuff that you want on your walls and put it into your storage unit. Unless you got a garage at home, start buying now rather than waking up one day and be like, I want to open a shop next week, but you have none of the equipment. If you buy your stuff over time and you fill your storage unit and say, I got 6 chairs in here, I got a couch, I got this, I can open a shop with this. Your stuff's already paid for. You don't have to go into any debt.
Can you elaborate more on the repercussions of somebody buying a shop that's already been owned by somebody else?
So if you buy a shop, and this is not necessarily my experience because I've had good experience and I've had interesting experiences, but I've realized how much money I've spent when I buy somebody's shop, and then it's like, this isn't even worth it. Like, I bought your mess, and then some people don't want the shop to change. So if you want the shop to be your own, don't buy that shop, because once you change it, no matter what, you're going to lose a percentage of your customers because they're like, I like the old shop. I like that there was nothing on the walls. You know what I mean? Now you got this on the walls. Like, nah, it's not for me anymore. And then they go find a new home, It's just a new start. It's like a breakup. And some people stay, some people don't. So It's just not worth it. So why not create your own space so people are like, hey, man, I like this place. It's better than the old place,
Yeah. Or Johnny, who sold the shop, opens another shop down the street, and then they just follow him, and then you're left with no business after paying for his shop.
Who's Johnny?
Johnny Bravo. Come on.
Right, dude. I've seen. Okay, for instance, I'm gonna say this barbershop because I love this guy, AJ from Capital Barbershop. Good dude. I feel like I know people, but he knows like deeper rooted people in certain industries, and he does really good with what he does, and he lives his life to the fullest. He owned a barbershop on Capital Barbershop. He still owns. He is the owner of Capital Barbershop, and it's on 30th. Can't tell you the cross street. I think it's like 30th. It's on 30th, north part of 30th and North Park, and he has a barbershop. It was a standalone. Like an old house, turned it into a barbershop. Awesome shop. I'm guessing on this. I think he got connected with the guy who owns James Coffee, and they built a new James Coffee location on 30th down the street from him, and his barbershop is now there on that side. So he's there, and then another barber that left his shop that was down the street from there took his old location to open a barbershop. So it's like, a guy that worked, across the street basically opened a shop across the street. If AJ had nothing to do with this, like if he wasn't there and his business wasn't there, I'd be like, whatever, like good for that guy, and it was probably the other barbershop owner's fault that somebody wanted to leave his shop and open right down the street from him, But like, since I don't think it'll affect AJ, but that's the part where it's just like, that's how easy it is to open your own shop rather than to buy anybody else's. So yeah, I hope that made sense.
That's crazy. Yeah. Could really screw people over.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Instagram barbers. I feel like that's the hot thing right now. How do you feel about them?
I'm known on Instagram to be a hater. Yeah. It should change my name, Frankie the Hater, instead of Frankie the Barbar. Man, where do I begin? I thought I would say interesting things, but I think I want people to know that people can look cool on Instagram all day long. You can post the coolest things. You can post an edited haircut. You can do anything you want, but at the same time, it's just like, how are you living? Like, how are you living? And I'm not even trying to drop her name, but one of the barbers that works with me, she lives a good life, She goes to every festival there is. And she created an IG barber page. And one thing that's really cool about her is she doesn't get caught up in it. Like, she always thinks like, oh man, I keep forgetting to post haircuts, you know? And I feel like that's like, I like that. It's just like, yeah, like it's because you're out enjoying your life. You're not like standing behind the chair and be like, let me just post all these haircuts online. And you think that I'm the coolest person because I can do the coolest fade, you know? No, this girl's actually like not focusing on being the dopest barber on Instagram and living her best life. Like, when I'm telling you festivals, she goes to every music festival in like California. She travels the United States.
She's actually focused on real life
versus that. And I think that's a brilliant way to be. And not saying that the other barbers on Instagram aren't, but it's just like they got like 20K followers and they got this and that. And I always say to myself, like, how do you live? How come I never see where you live? Like you're showing me this barbering side of you, but I want to see like who you are outside the chair, you know? Like, can I respect you outside of the industry, the haircuts you do, like your views? Like, I don't know. I'm kind of into that stuff, you know? So it's like,
well, that's the social part of social media.
Yeah, right? But then they post all these haircuts and get a lot of likes, and it's just like, I don't know. Like, it's just, I don't like it. I don't care for it. Maybe that's just the old guy in me, but you know, like, it's stupid. Do you live in an apartment or a house? I want to know how much money you're making with 20,000 followers. Does it even matter to have 20,000 followers? You know, I've seen people with like 350,000 followers live in an apartment still. So it's like, not to be rude, but it's like, what does over 100,000 followers do for you? Is that really just an ego thing? Like, where you're like, I need to get these likes. Like, it's not worth it. Instagram's a fad. I'm waiting for it to pass, and I'm waiting for real conversations to come back up. You know what I mean? Like, it's really sad if I challenge everybody in this room to, like, walk around just one day, maybe for like an hour. Like, don't take your phone when you go to dinner with your lady. Leave it in the car, and see how many other people are on their phones, and I think it'll disgust you, you know? And it could be some Instagram barbers.
That's funny.
You know, just, I don't know, people need to look up instead of looking like this. Can you imagine I'm in the, like,
I know,
this,
you're putting
like, the whole time,
that pressure
you know what I
on
mean?
your C7
Yeah,
spine
you know,
right there.
just-
You know, it's not good for
Just
you.
look up. I swear you'll be amazed at what you see. Yeah, so I'm not for it, Instagram barbers.
Yeah, no, I see where you're coming from with that. But what about somebody who's applying to work at your barbershop and then they show you they have all these followers? What would you say to them?
Okay, so I would laugh because I've had plenty of people, and I'm telling you, I've had plenty of people be like, oh, here, let me show you my haircuts. And I was, no. Like, don't show me your haircuts. And they're like, but I can show you, I can fade. I'm be like, dude, it's really, not to say we're not about the haircut here, because we are about the haircut. I said, but I'm not looking for your haircut to be like, I want the best barbers. Like, that's just not where we're at. You know, I want to know you. I want to know you. I want to know what makes you tick. I want to know what makes you angry. I want to know what we can't talk about around you, you know, and then from there I'll make my decision. I just need to ask a simple question, like, can you skin fade, you know? And they say, you get like 3 answers, like, I'm not the best, you know? Or it's like, yeah, I skin fade all day, you know? It's just like, you may not be too confident, a little too cocky. Or they'd be like, yeah, I've been cutting hair for like 15 years, I can skin fade, you know? And again, it's the way somebody says it. Like, I've been doing this for 13 years. It's kind of like, whatever's gonna come out of your mouth, I've heard it. I can break your tone apart and understand if you're lying to me or not. I'm just willing, I'm not gonna tell you that, but I'm willing to see what you're going to tell me. Because I always have this, the one question I ask to not waste anybody's time in an interview, I say, where were you working before? I was working here. And I tell them, I'm going to ask you this question. It may be personal, but I need to ask you so I know this is the right fit. Were you getting paid weekly or every 2 weeks? And if so, what did you make? You know, everyone always lies to me. Everyone always lies to me. I know my barbers make a really good living. So when they get a paycheck signed by me, they'll come in the back and tell me, bro, I've never made this amount of money before. And then I laugh and I'm like, that's funny you say that because you told me you made more, you know? And so it's like, I already know they're lying to me. Mm-hmm. And when they go low, I know they're being honest with me. We just, I think is the right word. I don't even know how to say it yet. We just contracted a younger guy for our Escondido store. And he's going to be in like our like little developmental process, you know, like we're going to help him out to grow. But this kid, and it breaks my heart in a way, this kid said, I just want to be able to make $300 a week, you know? And I'm like sitting there thinking like, when you become good and like you can pump them out at the Escondido location, you can make that in a day. And you're asking to make it in a week. You're in good hands in a way, you know what I mean? So it's not about the haircut necessarily with us. It's about, can you grow with us? Or have you already like, no, I already know. I got it. Yeah, I know. You know, it's like, what is your response? Like, you need to learn, you know? So
Yeah. Gotta be a team player.
I answer that.
No, definitely, yeah. Yeah.
Real quick, I used to work on the USS Midway when I was like 17 to like 19, in between the barbershop stuff. And that was my response to one of my managers. He'd be like, hey, I need you to clean the kitchen or clean that. I'd be like, yeah, I know. And be like, oh, and he'd tell me something else. I'd be like, yeah, I know. And he'd be like, hey, Frankie, come here. So he sat me down. He says, let me teach you something. Every time I ask you something, don't respond with like, yeah, I know. He's like, I know you're not doing it a bad way, but it's becoming a bad habit for you, and I want to help you. And I remember I was like, well, what do I say? And say something. He's like, say anything besides that, but more on the terms of be like, oh, okay, thank you, or oh, yes, I got it, you know? Or sit there and be like, okay, cool, I'm going to go do it right now, you know? But don't say, yeah, I know. So since I was 19, I've always tried to break that, and it's helped me out. And now I see it, and I'm like, hey, man, can I talk to you real fast? When I ask you to do something, don't say, yeah, I know. So it's funny how you learn something a long time ago and bring it and try to kind of teach people, you know? So
then after you tell them that, they say, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So before I close this up, is there anything else you'd like to say?
Okay, ending it with, don't tell people, yeah, I know. Google it and educate yourself about any question you have to ask anybody. Sometimes it's better to Google something. Not saying Google's your best option, but before you ask your boss a question or somebody a question, just Google it and kind of have an idea of how somebody's going to respond to your question, if that makes any sense. Whether it's to what should a barber make commission-wise, is contractor better than W-2, how should a contractor be treated? Stop listening to somebody who you think is above you, because nobody is above you. It's, you know, your own. Like, you're only as good as how well you educate yourself and what you're willing to learn, you know? So it's like, if you have a question of, oh my God, was that legal? You have the internet, and a lot of people forget. Like, they still ask questions. I get responses like, hey, what is it? It's I have a response system. So if somebody asks me a question and I just feel like it does not deserve for me to be answered, I say, I do not answer stupid questions. And I get some people that get really mad when I say that, right? And it's like that conversation about the yeah, no. And now they don't ask me certain questions, and they end up researching on their own because they knew not to ask such a silly question. Sometimes it's really easy, like saying like, hey, I don't want to Google it real fast, but who did this, you know? And then somebody will tell it to you. But if somebody's like, who did this? You know, it's just like, dude, you could have Googled it and made yourself be a lot smarter. You know what I mean? That easy. Because everybody could be like, I don't know. But if you Googled it real fast and had the answer, everybody's like, oh, he's smart, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's simple stuff, dude. Just, it's literally educating yourself.
Don't ask your employer lots of questions, okay?
Yeah, because they should respond with, they don't answer stupid questions. Liberty Barbershop, Point Loma.
Where can people connect with Liberty Barbershop, Point Loma? What are some projects you're working on in the future, and how can people connect with you?
You can always, I love to chat with anybody. You can always direct message us on Liberty Barbershop's SD Instagram. Future projects are Parlor and Poway is under construction. We should be up and running in like 20 days, hopefully 40. I don't want to be there in 20 days. I need some time. And future projects is this is the future one. It's called B&B. Okay, it's a B and then an N and then B, and it's called Barbers and Baristas. So it's gonna be like a barbershop cafe. That's the future.
The future is here. That is not a Chris Do reference.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited. Thanks for watching. Please leave any feedback below. If you have any more questions for Frankie, reach out to him on Instagram what are some things you guys would like to see in future podcast episodes. Again, my name is Frankie. Follow us on social media, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Cool. And